When I got back to America, things returned back to where they always were when I left there 11 months ago. It just as things never changed. And it was strange because I sort of referred to Japan as home, inadvertently, not on purpose. And I've always treated Japan like it was a fun time, like it was a roller coaster ride, like a lot of people feel about Japan. That's how their Japan is for them. When I returned to Japan, it was really a lot of reverse culture shock. It really surprised me because it said this isn't my home. This is just somewhere I live. And it was hard for me to deal with it for a while. And it just made me say, what am I doing here? You know, it just didn't seem like a country I belonged in. It seemed so foreign. Everything was so foreign. I mean, there are some things you're just gonna have to get used to. I mean, like really, really overcrowded places.
So you want to get an idea of how crowded a Japanese store can get? You see, this is what I have to deal with going home on the last train.
Another thing too is you got to get used to some of the food here. They're gonna have a lot of food here that they just don't have from your home country. For example, I bought some salsa today. Some of this. You know, I don't even really like salsa all that much, but it reminds me of home for some odd reason. But you learn to adapt. And I really spent a long time trying to figure out why am I here. In a way, what this did, me going back to America just for a month and coming back here, it really broke the whole honeymoon period. I wasn't here as a tourist anymore. I didn't feel like a tourist. I feel as though I live here. It was strange. It was a strange time for me. I did some thinking, and I have to stay in Japan. I have to stay here. My whole life is in Japan. Everything. My friends, my career, my opportunities. If I just went back home now, it's just a dead end. Everything back home is a dead end. And Japan really is for me, my content. Let's face it, I'm a nobody. I mean, I'm just some kid. I'm just some kid from buttfuck Colorado. You know, what's so special about me? The only reason why people such as yourselves, besides my friends and family back from Colorado, are watching me is because I live in Japan and I communicate with other known J-vloggers or this Japanese Gaikokujin community.
And there's so many people who have to live vicariously through other people who are here because they probably won't ever get to or be able to stay here in a long-term period to experience Japan as I'm going to get to experience Japan. A lot of people come here as tourists and have to do a million things in a few days and don't get to truly like soak it in. Here I kind of get to like marinate in Tokyo and then kind of like put it out there, and slowly I will be seasoned and get to have other people experience it through me.
During this time I was taking a class on quote-unquote how to promote somebody in a country like Japan, a foreign artist in Japan. And we had a guest speaker who we uploaded a video of his up on here onto YouTube. We had a guest speaker named Duane Levi who really inspired me and told me a lot about Japan that I really didn't know about. This really relates mostly to musicians, but I feel like it really relates to me as well, as a filmmaker.
It is extremely difficult to make money as a musician in Japan. And the main reason for that is because you must be known. You must be well known. So a lot of people, they have that dream, that image that you go to Japan and everyone will come to see you. That dream is over. It ended in 1990. Jay-Z, how did he get his start? So he's invited to the conference and he tells about how he, sold his CDs out of the trunk, how he, went grassroots and then got picked up and then, climbed the ladder slowly. There's nothing in Japan to explain to people, to show people how to pull themselves out of the dark, dingy, live houses and move up to the next step. The only way those artists move up to the next step is by a lucky break from Avex or some, Epic or something, who through a relative or through some sneaky little contact, pulls out. But then once they're up, they never look down. They aren't permitted to look down. They can never go back and play those small places, because, once they're big, they can pack a small 300-person venue. And in the States, in Canada, you've got that kind of system where those artists come back as headliners, and the unknown guy does an opening spot in front of 500 people, and then that's their little staircase out of the hole. But in Japan, it's separate. SMAP does a concert, they do it all by themselves. No opening act, no nothing. If there's another act, they're the same level as SMAP. Well, what I found in Japan, and it's the same, Jimi Hendrix, he performed and performed and performed and performed until he was flat broke in the States. And then he went to England and blew up. And then he came back to the States and blew up. But then he died. And then he blew up even more. It's the same in Japan. You're not gonna, even Japanese artists, you're never gonna blow up in Japan until you go somewhere else and blow up, and then you'll come back here and people are like, oh man, you played there, you did a world tour, oh wow. We haven't been paying attention to you up to now, but from now on we will.
Because back in the States, let's just face it, it is so hard to get your foot in the door. You need to have interesting content. And Japan is my haven. It makes me exotic, makes me creative. It's given me ideas. I'd say you're big in Japan when you can make a movie like Kill Bill, like Tarantino did. And that's the same thing I want to do. I need to really promote myself by putting myself in the film festivals. Battlegrounds being like Europe or America or Canada. Places like that. Other places I don't think are as much as interested in filmmakers these days, but if I could get somebody like Quentin Tarantino or Eli Roth to help fund this movie, it's sort of going to be like a Russ Meyer homage. Something I've been working on for quite some time. I had this idea even just living back in the States, and now living in Japan it's even stronger. But it's going to be the biggest movie I'll ever make, and it's my biggest goal living here in Japan, is to make this film. It's going to be sexy, it's going to be interesting, it's going to have a lot of action, but it's going to cost money. Lots of money. I can really feel it. I can feel this strong feeling just grabbing me, saying this is my opportunity to make something with my life. And there's a lot of people who in their lives that they don't really make of the opportunities that they're really given. Either they're too shy, or they're too afraid, or they just don't feel like they can do it. They don't think they're capable. Thus brings me to my next project, The 7 Hidden Treasures of Ikebukuro.
Want a drink?
No. 笑だ。冗談。もちろん。